Hello and welcome to the FYP Podcast.
Hey.
Pod 222. You right?
Yep.
Good. 223, sponsored by Vector Printing. For your print and embroidery needs, go to vector.co.uk. It's Vector with her.
Okay.
And JCIS, the global research and brand consultancy from South London. Visit, I'm looking forward to this. Visit jc-is.com.
I will.
Oh, good. That was a very positive I will, wasn't it?
Positive type of guy.
Well, you won't be feeling positive after this podcast. But before we get into it,
That's a threat.
there's not a lot of stuff.
But I'm surrounded by friends.
I'm
I'm talking about the beautiful
And JD.
I'm welling up.
Before we talk about the pod,
He's put a real negative spin on this, isn't he?
a bit,
bring us all down before we even
People on
started.
tubes all over London going,
Well,
that's
this
their
is-
journey to work ruined by your attitude.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, well, you are. It's
This
cheery for your...
this is like it's an international break, which we don't normally pod on, but because we had deadline day on Thursday, and then obviously because there's a lot of stuff going on with Frankfurt Ball, we thought we'd come back into the studio
Yeah.
and Kevin's room and pod about Palace. But before we do that, we've got an announcement to make regarding the Palace for Life Marathon Walk.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called? I think
Yes,
that's
it's
what
Marathon Walk, yeah.
called. Which we're going to do
We are.
Yes.
as a podcast
Yeah.
together.
Well, possibly.
Is this going to be like where you did the Renf cycle to Brighton and quit after 2 miles?
It was 25 miles.
Yeah. You say we're doing it together. That we might have to wait for each other at various stages.
But that's all right. There's
Yeah,
no,
well,
there's
we're
no
not-
timer.
Oh,
No,
sorry,
no,
I'm
no,
saying, I thought we were doing it some sort of tag team. So we do like a quarter of it each.
Could we do that?
No,
Oh, okay.
Are there pubs along the route?
there are pubs along the route. I
And
made
what
that
day of the
quite-
weekend is it on?
It's a Saturday.
I'm in.
International Break Day. No, you're in already. We're all...
Oh.
There's four of us in. We're doing it collectively. So
Oh,
Are we allowed to stop at the pubs?
Yes, of course.
Oh, good.
I don't think there's
Does that
anybody
change
from
your
the
outlook
I
on
don't think.
I'm there anyway. I was the first person to sign up.
I don't
you
believe.
weren't.
I don't
Yes, I
believe
was.
anybody from the International Athletics Authorities is going to be there. As
so,
long as we finish at some stage, I mean that's fine. The day after is fine as long as we finish.
so we could just go to the pub and then next morning finish.
Yeah, well,
What pub are
Ali,
you going to?
I don't know.
Ali tells me I have to try. I was planning to do it in a suit and desert. I do a lot of walking anyway. I thought that'd be fine, but especially as we be stopping. But Ali reckons we've got to train. But
Which
Pete,
one of us?
Pete the Eagle is doing it. Alice is doing it in their
So we have
even though they now look like owls.
They don't look. They look like seagulls.
They
more.
do look like
Andy
seagulls.
Johnson, of course, is doing it.
It's on October the 7th.
Yes,
Saturday 7th. We have a donation page,
we do.
obviously, and all the money is going to the Palace for Life Foundation. There's a bit more of an incentive on our page because we are giving away prizes for donations.
Ooh.
Would you like to hear what the prizes
What
are?
are those prizes,
I'm going to tell
JD?
you anyway. If you donate £5, you enter into a draw to win a year's free subscription to FYP Fanzine.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's not bad,
Yeah,
actually.
How much
not
is
bad,
that?
not
How
bad.
much is that worth?
A lot more than £5.
Oh, that's
I
okay.
think. If
10.
if
That's the
you,
sort of Philip Hammond economics that we're coming used to. That's great. It's more than 5.
Probably.
Yeah.
If you donate us £10, you enter into a draw to win some FYP merchandise.
Ooh.
Bit vague that one, but you'll get a T-shirt maybe or something. I don't know, maybe more than one T-shirt. Who knows?
Let's specify a T-shirt at least.
I think it's going to be a couple of
okay,
T-shirts.
yeah. Signed,
at
probably
least.
signed.
Well,
Who buy it?
Do you reckon
Yeah.
they want it signed?
Well, you pay more if you don't want it signed.
If you donate £25, you enter into
Ooh.
a draw to be a guest on the FYP Extra Pod after a game.
Ooh.
Now this is getting serious now.
It is
Some
very
serious
serious.
donations. And if you donate £50, you enter into a draw to become a guest on the full podcast.
Wow.
In this room.
In this
Wow.
room.
Yeah.
What, with all four of us, or do one of us have to?
One of you might have to, yeah.
No, we'll get things at the end
Why
of the
do
table.
why do I feel like this might be some sort of scheme for you to levy an entrance fee on me for every pod?
We should do that, shouldn't we, actually?
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that.
We
Yeah.
should charge him to come in the house.
We should do.
Who's administrating all this stuff, by the way?
Well, there's a Just Giving page.
No, I know,
and
but the draw and all that business.
Good point. Maybe we'll do it on the pod.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
do
okay.
it live on pod the week before.
But who's keeping it? Because obviously we've got 10,000 loyal listeners, and I imagine nearly all of them will want to donate some sort of money.
Yeah. So
So you're going to have to keep an eye on all these things.
Yeah, but they come on the Just Giving page. It tells you who's donated.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
So as long as everyone leaves their name,
Yeah. Okay.
then we can get in contact with them.
Yeah.
And contact email. We'll work it out.
And it's for a very good cause. It's for the Palace for Life Foundation has been relaunched specifically to help
Yeah.
struggling kids in South London and Croydon. So all the money will go to them, not new players. I guarantee all the money will go to the foundation and not new players. And also, hopefully, on the day there's going to be a few surprises lined up. Everybody will get a chance to walk with Andy and talk to Andy, but hopefully there'll be
You're
some
welcome.
things. Yeah. No, the
Andy.
even more cheerful Andy, the one that's done good things for the club in the past.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So,
But hopefully there will be surprise guests and there will be surprise things happening on the.
Brilliant.
And so
people can still get involved not only in donations, they can actually still get involved in the walk.
There are 1 or 2 places left on the walk if they want to take part in the walk. So
To donate, go to justgiving.com/fundraising/FYP-podcast to get involved in the draw. To get involved in the walk, I think. Hang on, I'm going to Google it.
Sure, the details are on the FYP
yeah, if you go to the
website.
it'll be on our website somewhere, but also the Palace. You just go to Palace for Life, and then it's all up there.
Yeah, so to get involved in the walk itself, go to palaceforlife.org,
Yeah.
and the details are on there as well. But
And also, we're very aware that there are people who can't manage to walk 26 miles. So if people just want to come along, we'll give a list of the pubs that we should be in at various times. So
Yeah.
Can I have
That's a
that
great
list,
idea.
please?
of course, it'll be me, mate. So yeah, if anybody wants to get involved,
yeah,
or just wants to come along and have a chat and donate a $5 in a bucket, one of there. So
absolutely. I feel like we will need to have people to chat with along. It's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
So it'd be
Yeah,
nice
well, there's a
to-
lot of people. It's nearly 200 people signed up anyway, so it should look good with everybody wearing.
200 people have signed up for a
Nearly.
sponsored pub crawl.
Yeah, but pretty much, yeah, yeah,
I'm very surprised.
yeah. So as these things go, don't feel. I mean, there will be people. There will be athletes who want to stride out and beat their personal best time, but
Yeah.
they
Well,
can,
one of the people
they can
around
wait
here,
for us for 4 hours at the other end.
one of
while
the
we
people
catch
around the
it.
table's done a marathon.
Endicott's done a marathon.
Yeah, I know. Long time ago.
Whoa!
Actually,
It's Snickers now, of
it's
course. So
Snickers,
that's
yeah,
how
I
long,
was
that's
just
how long ago it was.
you beat me to it. You beat me to it. This is why you're in comedy and I'm not.
And that's the sort of chat you could listen to live on the walk
I know.
if you get involved.
Imagine that, 2 breathless middle-aged men trying to do that joke halfway around.
Right, let's move on to talking about Palace. We did a Swansea pod. This is a post-deadline day reaction pod. It's been a few days. It's been 3 or 4 days actually since deadline day. The one signing we made was Mama Sakho, who returned for £26 million. We'll get on to.
Sorry. I
You
just
right?
got, yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's his impression of how fit Sakho is.
We'll get on to the lack of other signings, but let's start with Sakho. He was sort of the one that everyone wanted. But my question to you, Kevin, before we start is: given that we definitely needed a striker, we definitely needed a goalkeeper, did Palace actually really need Mama Sakho?
I've said this for a couple of weeks. I don't think the manager thought he needed him. I think you have to distinguish. The deadline day itself wasn't particularly good, but if you look at the players we bought in before that, Fossey, Mensah, Loftus-Cheek, Riderwald, if we brought those in on the last day, you'd be saying that's a good day of business. But Sakho, the whole thing with Sakho, to me, has smacked of Parish trying to have 2 nights off without angry tweets, basically. I don't think we wanted him. We didn't go about getting him in a very professional way, as Streety predicted. It's exactly the same as Liverpool with Benteke. They knew that eventually we would probably pay nearer the asking price than they wanted.
Yeah.
If he was a player that you thought the Boer wanted,
We've knocked him 4 million off, so it's not.
well,
It's a bit,
sort
isn't
of.
it? It's not terrible,
It's a
isn't it?
moot point. We don't know how much we knocked. Also, we don't know how fit he is and when he's going to be ready to play. But we needed strikers. We needed a goalkeeper. The rumour, not the rumour, as reported in several newspapers, the reason we didn't get Cenku, or however you pronounce his name,
The Turkish striker.
I apologise to any Turkish listeners, is that the deal was done, but we didn't want to pay the full amount in one whack, which we didn't tell them until half an hour before that deal was done, which is disappointing because he's a good player. Nias apparently fell through because of arguments about agents' fees. It just strikes me that it's given, and we'll talk about De Boer and Parish and their relationship later, obviously. It just strikes me that it's given De Boer an excuse to go because he wanted a striker and a keeper, and he was very obvious about that. And Parish has got one bad performance, as that'll be his excuse for getting rid of De Boer. So it's Sakho.
Are you happy?
To answer the question, yes. I am happy with Sakho, despite what I've said. I just think his presence around the training ground, clearly, he's been an inspiration to some of the players we've got, and clearly he is, however you define it, he has got leadership qualities on and off the pitch. And I think he will lift the players. I think Kabay will be highly delighted he's back. I think the other centre-backs will be highly delighted he's back.
Benteke be happy?
I think so, yeah. I mean, Sakho's clearly a quality player. You kind of think that he will have to change away from the back 3 now. Personally.
Yeah. Well, there's rumours, isn't there, that now Sakho's come in, that we're going to move towards more of a back 4. And in fact,
there's also rumours that De Boer wasn't particularly keen on playing them back three in the first place. But I'm sure we'll come on to that later as well.
Well, yeah. But let's go on to it now. Let's go on to it now because that came from Steve Parish, didn't it?
Yeah, Steve Parish himself said that De Boer was more interested in evolution than revolution, and that perhaps the change from Pulis, Pardew, Allardyce, etc. to De Boer would be a bit of a culture shock. But Parish has revealed that he insisted that De Boer played that sort of possession football and that he wanted to change the way we played at home because he thought that was why we were losing home games. And De Boer apparently said something along the lines of, well, we don't play well with the ball, we're better without it. But Parish went, no, we've got to change the way we play.
Well, was this in a paper article or something?
The Parish said in an interview on Palace TV, I think. So it's a quote. It's not. There are times, I admit, in previous years in this podcast, when I've been bored and made stuff up. I think we've all been guilty of that. We've all just plucked quotes out at the end and afterwards realised, oh no, my mate Barry said that, not Steve Parish. But I've checked with Barry, and no, Steve Parish did make these comments. They've been well attested in various places.
I mean, if that's the case, then James, it takes not pressure off the ball, but it makes you realise, oh, okay, he might not have not been so deluded. You know what I mean? In the way he's approached English football. Actually, that's kind of what we were all thinking at the time.
No, I disagree. I think, look, you're a manager of a Premiership. There are only 20 managers of Premiership clubs. You've got to have you've got to have something about you. If you don't believe that what the chairman is telling you is how you should be playing, then you should do something about it. You've got to be a bit stronger than that, I think. And the whole thing is just people being weak on all levels for me. I think it's been weak leadership from the board, it's been weak leadership from De Boer, and the whole thing just smacks of everybody pointing fingers to everybody else. And here we are now trying to find out who's pointing a finger at who. Well, if he did that, that means he did it. It's like these are people not in the playground. This is something that's very special to us four here and the people who listen to this pod,
Yeah.
And I feel as though it's a rudderless ship at the moment,
But
and it's at all levels.
To try and be fair to De Boer, it might be that he would have said, look, it'll take me 3, 4, 5 games before I know whether we can play
fair
this.
enough, yeah.
And if the chairman said to him, look, I want you to play this sort of football, and then that, because he will go, well, that's the sort of football I'm used to. He would have said to the chairman, have we got the players to do it? Presumably the chairman would have said, either yes, we have, or we'll bring the players in that can do it.
Okay.
But you'd like to hope, and we'll never know now, but you'd like to hope that after the Swansea game, albeit I know Townsend said today Swansea had 2 half chances, it's our fault, etc. But you'd like to think that De Boer would have looked at that and gone, this is not working.
Yeah.
We'll have to change the way we play. 4-3-3 is the way he's played.
Yeah, but if De Boer had said those things to Parish that are true with what Parish is saying, then he clearly wasn't. He was prepared to be changeable. He's prepared to be like that. So, at what point do you say to the chairman, well, "This is my team. You can't be telling me how to play"?
Yeah, that's a good point. But he's never been as wedded to 3-4-3 as people say he is. He's always been a fairly flexible manager tactically.
Yeah.
All managers are. You can't just play one way.
He played 4 at the back at Ajax.
Yeah, he's played 4-3-3 at times when he's had to, especially in European games. So.
Yeah. Just on.
I want to know what Eeyore thinks over there.
Well, can I just give him a question?
The corner of his mouth is turning down even further than I've seen it turn down in the past.
Can I give him a quick question on that point? Because you were sort of saying like it seems like Palace doing the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Pinky Brown off the BBS.
Hi, Pinky.
Yeah, Pinky.
Says,
Hi, Pinky.
will we ever learn? It does feel like Palace are the same old cycle, isn't it? Of just not learning from previous mistakes.
Well, when we first stayed up under Pulis in the 2013 to 14 season, I distinctly recall after it was the West Ham game, I think, where we secured survival. Got to the end of that match, I was like, well, now what? We're going to become really boring, and every season, like, not much will happen, and we'll sort of win one game, lose one game, and draw one game. And I'm just really glad that we've not done that. So every season, it's more or less followed the same trend of slight crisis of some sort, a new manager of some sort coming into firefight at some point. I mean, it's quite unprecedented that that's actually happened before we've even got to autumn.
But this is a crisis to end all crises, isn't it? This is worse.
Like we're only,
peak Palace, isn't it?
We're only 3 games into the season.
We're only a point behind where we were this time last season.
the point of sacking the manager 3 games into the season. I mean, that's
he hasn't. There was a couple of seasons ago when the manager walked out 2 days before the start of the season.
True.
We have been in a similar situation before.
Yeah. And I don't think the manager, and James is right, it's better that it happens. I mean, how many times have we sat here and go, well, hopefully this will be the manager that puts a new infrastructure into place, brings it in, and how let's hope this season we can just have a little bit of progression. But Watford, Chelsea change their manager every year. Chelsea win things, Watford stay up. So sometimes crisis management wins. We still manage to stay up.
Haven't Watford had 3 managers in one season before?
And
I think in their first
the
season
optimist in me thinks if the crisis management is managing to keep us up, what will happen if we ever do get good stable management? We're Champions League. Simple as that. If we're managing to stay up with this in the midst of this chaos, but you can Arsenal and Chelsea fans can Arsenal. How much more stability do Arsenal want? And they've been nowhere near winning the title.
Yeah.
Chelsea change their manager every 18 months, regardless of how well they've done.
Yeah.
So Steve Parish would probably say, well, our model's actually worked so far. We've started our 5th season in the Premier League. I think with hindsight, and I'm not expecting De Boer to be manager at the end of the season, it was a culture shock for both, I think, for the club and for De Boer. I think what's good this week, and there was a really good article in the Guardians at Palace saying basically Palace fans are starting to think, well, it isn't necessarily all De Boer. I think there was a time, this time last week, when there was a sort of panic when everyone's going, well, it's De Boer's fault, it was the wrong thing to do. And it isn't. I don't think you can't gainsay how good a coach he is. It's just too much for us too quickly, maybe. And by Christmas we might all be laughing and saying, well, it turns out he is the best coach we've ever had. But I suspect that won't be the case. But I think everyone seems to have calmed down a little bit this week and looked at it more rationally and said, well, maybe it's not his fault, it's not Parish's fault, it's not the players' fault, it's just a combination of circumstances. And we are better away from home. So but it doesn't help as well. Steve Parish being quoted as saying in papers that he has to win at Burnley.
Those quotes, Gareth Davies.
Hi, Gareth.
I assume not the former Palace player, but who knows? Maybe he is. Says, has Parish's comments about De Boer made De Boer's position untenable? It sort of has in a way, isn't it?
Well, I think this is the whole point. And I said this on the last pod, and I'll say it again now. To the extent that he isn't the manager for the Burnley match or even the Saints match, if it goes beyond that, it won't just be down to 3 results. It will be down to disintegration of relationships. It will be down to trust and confidence between the parties having broken down. It will be down to the things that we don't see, because you don't sack a manager just on the basis of 3 losses in a row.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, and that does end up happening, then there's very little you can do about that. Once a relationship has deteriorated to the point that you feel the need to get rid of someone that quickly, you're not going to recover from it.
But it'll also be down to transfer policy in seasons gone by. It will also be down to our infrastructure, because Frank de Boer came from Ajax and Inter Milan by tradition and economics, 2 of the biggest sides in Europe, and he turned up at Palace, and quite clearly our infrastructure isn't going to match what he had at Ajax and Inter Milan, just in terms of numbers and in terms of staff and whatever. So,
but he would have known that.
Yeah, of course, he should have known that. Yes, of course. I'm not using that as an excuse, but it is one of the many. It's not just. This hasn't just happened since we took Frank de Boer on as manager. This is a result of 5 years of not catching up with being in the Premier League, basically, which it just still seems that we just seem to start each season as though we're a championship team again, just coming up. Everything seems to take us by surprise. Yeah. It's like we said in the last pod at the start. It's not De Boer's fault necessarily that 5-6 players at the start of the second half at Swansea are championship players. Yeah. You can't lay that at him. He can only pick players that he's got in the squad.
The question that comes from me from you saying that is, when are we going to learn? When are we going to be able to learn from what's happened and maybe start thinking like a Premier League club?
Well, maybe when the fans stop saying, it's great, it's Palace, that's our way, we're ramshackle, that's the way we like it. I mean, we've always talked about that on the pod, that in the end, if we want to step up a gear, we have to sacrifice some of the things that we love about the club.